Hey folks, welcome to another episode of The Security Table. In fact, the final episode of 2023. We'll do more after, when 2024 comes around. This is Chris Romeo, always glad to be joined by my friends Izar and Matt.
You didn't do it right, Chris. It's Izar.
Izar. Oh, I'm sorry, Izar.
I'm still going for the one.
One word. Yes. Okay, Izar. Sorry, Izar is in the building. He's just moved from the green room to the camera spot that you see in here after consuming all the green M&Ms that we had available in the.
And the crowd goes wild.
Where's the popcorn when you need it?
Well, that's a good point there about the crowd. So we got to see some statistics about the security table from the time we launched early in 2023, and as it turns out, we're big in Dublin, Ireland. That's our number one city around the world. So shout out to anybody in Dublin, Ireland, who's listening to us. And we also learned that we're gigantic in Australia. So let's see, Perth, which I want to visit Perth. It's on the west coast, right, of Australia. So Auckland. These are two places in Australia where we have a number of listeners. So
good thing Auckland is not in Australia, and they're not going to be pissed off.
Oh, it's in New Zealand. Sorry. I knew that better. than that. Thank you.
Wars haven't begun for less.
That's true. So thank you. So let's, that'll be. No one will ever hear that because I'll have it completely cleaned up. No, I won't. It's fine. No,
Only in Australia.
Sorry, Auckland. I've been to New Zealand. I spent a roaring 16 hours in New Zealand, and I need to get back for a longer period of time. But yeah, super excited to see we've got people listening to the table from all over the world. Something about our wacky, zany banter is what's drawing people into the conversation here. We're going to talk about resolutions, but also predictions. But I'm going to talk about resolutions, and then maybe Izar and Matt are going to talk about predictions, and then I'll make fun of predictions. But we did get some fan mail here on the security table, which is pretty exciting. Like we have I think this might be our first piece of fan mail. All right, here, I'll read it to you verbatim.
Probably the only one.
Could be hate mail, so
we have gotten hate mail, but we just kind of leave that alone. But okay, hi. I'm a big fan of the Security Table podcast, and I listen to it every time I'm at the gym. Sometimes your opinions contribute to elevating my heart rate, so thank you. I don't know. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know.
It depends.
I don't know if that's like, I'm so mad and furious that you people are just missing the boat so badly that it's raising my heartbeat. But after listening to many episodes, I think I can predict what will happen next. Like right now, I think the next episode will be about predictions for the year 2024. Now, I am that good, or is it just due to information disclosure? Only two people know. I don't know who the two people are.
Yeah,
but I'm confused. I thought there's three of us, so did two of the three of us know this is an inside job? But this fan did provide us with a prediction for 2024. So let's start there, and we'll consider this prediction and decide whether we want to attack it, agree with it, or something else. We will have our first large-scale security breach on the pipeline or leak of a popular AI. People will get disclosed on previously unknown details, such as how the AI is tied to their privacy. Major worldwide outrage will ensue, but will last 4 days. It's very specific that it's going to last 4 days. So, all right, how do you guys respond to this? What do you think about this prediction?
It's so precise that I think we should go to the FBI at this point. But,
crazy fan mail.
It is very, very specific, but is there a chance this is?
I'm sure
happen?
This is. It sounds like an inside job. Like there's something going to happen. This person knows that they're the culprit.
Let's push beyond that. Let's push beyond that as far as who may have actually done this, and is this a potential problem?
Look, at this point, and again, connecting to what we did on the last episode, where we sort of got to the conclusion that. AI is nice, LLMs are great, but they're just one more piece of software, right? And the same way that every single other piece of software out there, at some point, the controls failed and breaches occurred. I think that it's a matter of when, not if.
Yeah, I agree, and it is highly likely. I think from the discussion, the attack is not going to go through the prompt, right? The attack is going to come from a database breach. Somebody's going to leave something unprotected in the cloud. We've seen that time and time again. or some piece of device, some hardware will get lost or something. So, I mean, these are classical computer systems. They have classical security vulnerabilities.
What about the privacy tie-in, though? Like he's making this conclusion or drawing this conclusion that AI LLMs have more private data in them than we realize. That was part of the prediction. So do we think that there is a collection of personally identifiable information included within some of these big time LLMs?
I think if an LLM has any sort of history, right, understanding what was asked of it by a set of users, and if that information is unfiltered in any way, then I think yes, I think it could certainly draw conclusions. I imagine somebody could ask it, and maybe in a way that would bypass the injection filters. Who's been asking you questions? What type of questions have they been asking you? Right? These are all great ways to start drawing conclusions about the user base. And that starts to give you potentially identifiable information. We know that with IP addresses or even secondary data with respect to health information, right? To put you into a population. So we know that exists today for privacy.
But that assumes that all the basic rules of security and multi-tenancy have been broken. That the LLM knows about all the sessions that are happening at the same time. Things that we wouldn't do in any other SaaS or shared application.
Where do you get the sense that it's a multi-tenant and segregating multi-tenant enforcing system?
I think that it should be.
It should be. It should be. Yes.
You shouldn't have access to any kind of context or whatever happens in my session. So if what you described ever were to happen, I would say that, hey, somebody here got more problems than an LLM.
But I think that's what's happening right now, though. What Matt just described is what you've described is what we want to see, but that's not how these things work right now. If you use ChatGPT through the web interface, the license agreement allows them to repurpose your requests as training data for future brightening of the model. So if you give up some information in there, you could accidentally give up personally identifiable information, which then technically they could insert as training data back into the model.
Well, even if it's not injecting back into the model through prompt data, let's go back to the original training data. I mean, it was fed the internet, right? So in theory, it has access to Facebook posts or IRC channels or other session information, things that might have identifiable.
No. Wait.
No.
There is something I need to get my head around here. A bunch of something. So people are saying, oh, this thing went in and slurped Reddit and got everything from there. Okay, fine, cool. But when you start saying this thing went to Facebook and slurped out there,
I suggest I don't know if it is or not.
Other people have said that in the past. It went into Facebook and got whatever is public. It didn't go into Facebook as some admin and slurped everything that's out there and whatnot. All the private stuff that people should, to the extent that people do, keep private on a place like Facebook, they didn't do it. They didn't make it into the training data, right? Because it's still private.
Yeah, but Meta's building their own models, right? So are they using Facebook and Instagram data to teach their own internal models
or WhatsApp
with data that's bigger than what you could get via the public interface?
Yeah. Also, remember all those stored database. Remember all those databases that get breached because somebody leaves them exposed with no credentials. If you have a bot that's indexing the entire internet for training data, almost certainly some of that data is going to be pulled in. If it goes to haveibeenpwned.com.
But how is that different from the engines that we had, the Internet Wayback Machine, Google itself, that also indexed the whole internet? Well, confession, up to last week, I've been using LLMs as like a glorified Google. Go find me stuff and I'm going to figure out if what you're saying sounds like true.
I think it's the potential for the correlation, right? The search, I think, very naive thought here, that the search engines are basically SQL queries. Here's a term, get me the term, find all the pages that match this term. And it does very little heuristics. It does some. I know it does some because you ask for certain words and it goes, oh, I think you actually meant this word over here, so I'm going to give you that result instead. But the ability, the power of the LLM to understand not only the words that you use in your query, but the intent behind your query and the sort of the predictive nature of what it thinks you want makes it much more powerful than just basic search engine. And that's where I think the risk would come in.
I feel like I'm missing something here because it's almost like people ascribe magical powers to LLMs, and I simply don't see it.
I think the other problem we have right now is LLMs work in a mysterious way.
Yep.
You know, the idea that multiple people have said, you ask it stuff, we know what the code is, but we don't understand how it gets to the results. And
Look,
it is almost certainly something we could know, but people don't.
That's really scary.
from college days, I already learned that the fact that I don't understand something doesn't mean that it's not explainable. That's for sure. But I start getting worried when people who actually understand the thing, people who actually wrote that thing, look at me and say, yeah, we can't really trace a path between the conclusion and the whoop.
Oh, that's an AI glitch.
Physical control. That's it. The machines are coming after me. That's it.
Like, we got to silence Izar. He's got to be done now.
but this one is actually physical. I have a physical control there. But so now I forget what I was saying. So explainability, right? So people come to me and say, yeah, we can't draw a convoluted line between the conclusion and the premise. It got there somehow, Lord knows how. Mm-hmm. So that worries me, not because of the thing itself, which, hey, cool, technology, yay, there are people who understand it, I don't. But where people are going to take those conclusions and go forward with, right? So a bunch of the examples that came up last week, the chatbot doing the travel thing, okay, fine, sure, yeah, whatever, but do something with your tickets. But the AI systems doing weapon targeting, that's a bit more worrisome to me. If you can't explain to me what happened between clicking the mouse on a UAV camera feed and a missile landing on that site, that takes some minutes of sleep off of my night.
Yeah. So I did ask Bard for some insight into how it gets to the answers that it gets to. And of course, they're not going to tell me the algorithms and everything, right? That's IP right there. But one thing I think I noticed from its response, from what I did get out of it, was there were a lot of things in the pipeline, right? There's a lot of things in the information processing pipeline, from training to responding to prompts. A lot of filters, a lot of passing data back and forth. Very classical system problems that we have, where you have, say a microservice development, where you have lots of microservices that do different things, and data passes along this chain, and it follows a path, and you could probably trace that path if you so desire, but most people probably don't. And so there's, or the problem of APIs, where you call different APIs and you sort of lose track of the processing flow. And possibly that you're calling APIs that other people own or wrote that you don't have visibility into. So all classical system problems.
Yep.
Yes, I agree. I'm nervous that not knowing, and hopefully and I know that there is research going on to know it. But boy, I think you said it best in a private, when we were talking offline, some well-placed print statements would really go a long way here to figure this out.
Maybe that's our homework for the holiday break here, is try to figure out how LLMs actually work. Because somebody has to understand somewhere.
No, listen. The moment that we figure out how they do work, we get the keyword for next year, which is going to be quantum. And now soon we're going to have quantum LLM, so we won't know how that stuff works on 2 levels. Right? We don't know how the hardware works. We don't know how the software works.
Is this your first prediction? That quantum LLMs, you heard it here first, are the new thing for 2024?
I, for one, welcome our quantum LLM overlords.
You can know where they are or when they are, but not both at the same time.
If we're going to start predictions here, I have to get into Nostradamus mode. So let me know beforehand.
Wait. Heisenberg, right? You need Heisenberg for this.
Or I don't.
Are we talking about the Heisenberg reference from Breaking Bad or the original scientist?
I was talking the original scientist,
okay.
but
We're talking quantum. Why do you continue using or? It's always and.
Well, then you also need to bring in Schrodinger, right?
And his cat. Yeah,
and his cat, which is
that must be one pissed off cat.
Yeah,
it's true.
Or not.
All right, so I'm gonna book that though as your first prediction that quantum LLMs
quantum LLMs.
And I mean, you know what? I'm gonna do the same thing that everybody does with predictions. I'm not going to write them down, and I'm not going to think about them after we finish recording this, and we're never going to talk about them again.
So. I'm going to do what everybody does with predictions. I'm going to qualify it. I'm not talking about a full LLM. I'm talking about an experimental 2-qubit thing that knows how to throw a coin and basically tell you what color the coin is.
Wait, you're throwing cryptocurrency and Bitcoin into this?
Oh, do I have to?
Well, no, you just said coin. Wait. I know you were talking about a traditional coin, but I'm like, if you can bring somehow blockchain into this as well.
There's a startup in the making there. Wait.
No, there's a prediction in the making. You might have a unique prediction that no one else has said. It's a quantum LLM stored on the blockchain.
I think you just invented a new cryptocurrency, a quantum cryptocurrency.
We need a quantum ledger. Your money may be there. Perhaps not.
Why not?
It may be going up. It may be going down.
Well, you know,
isn't that all cryptocurrency right now?
Yeah, I was going to say there's a number of legal cases going on right now that are making that particular argument that that's what cryptocurrency exchanges were doing, was like, maybe your money's there. Maybe we've used it for something else. It's
flip a coin and you have a better result.
All right. Well,
what is money after all?
It's true. What is money? What is
just
money?
An instrument of exchange? That's all. Yeah. That's all money is.
That's true. All right, Matt, you got to go next now that Izar has dropped the first one in conversation. He just made it appear in the context of the conversation. So he is Nostradamus after he changes.
I think.
Oh boy. Well, Matt, you go ahead. Well, the audience is entertained by some tomfoolery. I don't know if that's the right word that's happening in the
Izar foolery.
It's Izar foolery. Izar foolery. That's the word. All right, Matt. What are your thoughts, Matt? Give us one to keep us moving.
So I think probably very tongue in cheek, but also probably very true that
it's Nostra Izar.
Nostrazar.
It's Nostradamus.
Nostradamus.
Okay, ready for predictions.
Here we go.
For all of our listeners who are listening and not watching the video, you are missing. You're missing
Nostradamus
out.
has entered the building.
Yes, Izar is in full costume here with a hat, hair, and a gray.
I need a Renaissance thing.
Hair. Yeah, it's.
Always wanted to do that.
Now you lost the hat though.
Lost the hat.
It's behind you.
Oh, don't tell
the closest hat maybe behind you.
It's behind me. It's behind me.
All right, Matt, go ahead. What's your? You were kind of in the middle of it, and then we got distracted.
Darn, I don't know. Predictions are resolution. I kind of like your idea of resolutions. Predictions are so challenging. I mean, and I don't want to get into a lot of trouble with these. I think I'll make a prediction about one of our favorites, SBOM. That SBOM will reach its peak of acceptability, but also its peak of whether it's valuable or not. So we've done a lot in 2023 for hyping this thing called SBOM. Like SBOM is going to solve world hunger. And I think like the AI cycle, SBOM will reach a a point where, first off, I hope we also start introducing other terms, right? So in addition to SBOM, we'll have HBOM, and we'll have potentially other things as well. Attestation is going to get big. And I have a feeling that what will end up happening is that SBOM will sort of go off of people's tongues as the next big thing, and be replaced by some realism that SBOM is just an inventory, and that or HBOM is just an inventory, and that attestation of that data is really the important part, not necessarily the production of a JSON based document. So that's my prediction is the value will really come out of that, and we'll stop the hype of everyone who produced an SBOM, and really everyone has now a better handle on what they actually are building.
All right, Nostra Izar looks like he wants to say something.
I predict that in an office somewhere, somebody is going to finally look around and say, SBOM, I found a use for it. And then the whole industry that started last year by talking, we need SBOMs, we need SBOMs, we need SBOMs, will finally close in an harmonious ecosystem that will actually get those SBOMs and do something with them, rather than just go around showing to people, I have an SBOM, I have an SBOM, I have an SBOM.
I'm gonna take it a step further, and I'm gonna continue on this thread of SBOM, and I'm gonna make a prediction. Okay, I'm gonna make a prediction here, not a resolution. My prediction is that SBOM is going to be used as a swear word in 2024. So people are going to be like, SBOM! And if you remember, right, just for those that are of the same vintage as the three of us here, if you were fond of a particular television show in the 90s, it was kind of called the television show of the 90s, Seinfeld. Seinfeld had this, whenever he saw, there you go, my threat model's better than yours. But what happened whenever one of the neighbors who happened to be a postman?
Hello, Newman.
Exactly. So, Newman was kind of a cuss word in Jerry's vernacular there. And so my prediction is that SBOM is going to be the same thing. It's going to be, people are going to be sitting in their office going, SBOM.
No, but that's the thing. That's the thing. I think that what Matt said bears repeating. I think that finally it's going to become like a useful thing, of course, but there will be distinctions, and there will be the understanding that the practical value that comes out of it is only what you make of it, and not, or perhaps what somebody asks you to attest that you make that value out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, attestation is a whole new animal, right? Because now this is a legal thing. That's what attestation means.
The lawyers have entered the chat.
Exactly. And everybody else is muted or left, because it's all fun and games when I'm just sending you an inventory, but when I have to make a statement about it, now I got to have my whole building filled with lawyers. Right now, all of a sudden, SBOM is going to be 10,000 pages, or it's going to be a paragraph,
or it's going to have that giant legal disclaimer on the metadata.
That's probably actually the real truth is what's going to happen is there'll be a legal disclaimer that says use at your own peril will be the description.
Or it's going to be cryptographically signed, and that's going to give it value, and we are going to have one more secret to protect, and one more secret to be leaked, and one more secret for people to run with, and we're going to have the whole certificate signing drivers all around.
Are you going to have timestamping for SBOM digital signatures?
Yes, but if the timestamp has expired, there will be a whole different thing saying that at the time of attestation, the timestamp was good, so the attestation is still good. It's almost like this happened before.
It never happened before. I have another prediction.
Okay, here we go.
That I want to make before I forget it. Somebody will have listened to our podcast, multiple episodes now, and listened to your take on that nasty 4-letter, begins with a D word.
With a D word.
DAST. And try to build and actually be successful at building a DAST tool that you find valuable.
Ooh, that's a tall order. Ooh. Can't wait to try it out. I'll be a beta tester. Let me know. Let me know if you're out there and you build it. I might even invest in it. Who knows?
Look, I can predict that if there is a person like what Matt described, there's another person who happened to work at some company that likes to actually make predictions that's right now thinking about a new acronym to call that old thing called AST and create a whole new branch of the industry that does exactly the same thing. It's a completely new name.
I'm trying to dream it up myself right now on the fly, as far as what would that new
I-
here's a shout out to the person who wrote us the fan mail to use his or her AI skills to come up with some suggestions.
There we go. All right. So that's, I mean, I would love to see that. I would even invite that person on as a guest of the podcast to enlighten me about how
his or mine.
His or mine. What?
His person or my person?
No, I'm talking about if somebody invented. Yeah, either one actually.
Person.
I think. Yeah, I mean, his would be probably more interesting. But because if somebody showed up here and brought a new acronym, I think I might just fly off the screen. You might see me just.
Which I'm going to predict will happen. The new acronym, not you flying off the screen.
Yes. I probably will fly off the screen though. But all right, so let me change the direction here and give you a resolution. Okay, not a prediction. You guys already covered 2 of my resolutions, by the way. I had 4 written. 2 of them have already been covered as predictions. But here's one that I think we could all get behind and be passionate about. Resolution: teach secure coding at the university level. Secure coding education at the corporate level is an excellent programmatic approach, levels everyone's security knowledge. However, we're still in a world where at the university system they're not being taught secure coding.
Oh my God! So do you want Izar or me to go first on responding to you?
I think you can both speak at the same time, and I'll just put you in. No, go ahead, Matt. You first.
Well, I'm guilty of that. We usually do speak at the same time, but it's because of me, not Matt.
We'll let Matt go first, as we're polite gentlemen here of the security table.
You've already missed the boat if you're talking the university level.
Ooh, okay.
Yep.
Good.
And
okay.
also, and second, how many people, especially new people entering this field, are going to university? First.
Yep.
Okay, I like that.
So here's the thing. As in so many fields, and as Matt said, college is too late. People take classes in college to pass those classes, not to, learn most of the stuff, right? Especially at the bachelor's level. And then when you go up in other levels, you get to know more and more about less and less. So unless they are heading into a cybersecurity field, they are going to have less and less of that expertise.
Okay.
And then you fall into so what do we teach? Which language do we teach this week? I don't know what colleges are teaching this week. I think could be even Python. I think that
a lot of Python is what I've heard. Still
Java. And Python,
right.
I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
nobody does C anymore, I don't think.
Yeah. So I would adjust your resolution into teach security principles the same way that you teach CS 101, the same way that you teach data structures, then teach security principles. But at the same time, I'm going to pull it the way that Matt pulled to earlier than college.
Yeah.
So there are many high schools out there that have electives for intro to computer science. Mm-hmm. And I know for a fact that security is not even being considered there.
But I mean, if we can't consider security at the university level, here's my counter to that. I would love to see that. What you're describing would be awesome if we could say, hey, in our STEM programs around the country, security is a foundational piece of how we're approaching computer science. I'm not arguing against that being the dream, right? But if we can't even do this at the university level, how could we possibly do it at the secondary school level, where those teachers are paid less and they have less resources and less?
I have a thought. I'd like to issue a challenge, and I don't know how many people are listening to our podcast that can take up this challenge. But I would issue a challenge that. So you mentioned STEM programs, right? Even if we get a portion of them, we can't certainly get all of our secondary schools. There's just too many of them in the country. Here in the U.S. at least, and we're not even talking about the rest of the world. But if folks in our industry reach out to their local high schools, and even do a seminar, a couple hours total, even into a STEM program. If they are doing any computer science, work, just introduce those principles and to introduce, say, threat modeling as a practice, then, that's a start that gets people interested, perhaps, at least gets things in the top of their head. And, so maybe the challenge here is that, if security folks are looking for volunteer opportunities, try to see if there's an opportunity to volunteer at a local school. Even a small portion starts to get the ball rolling.
So we as an industry need to, your suggestion is it's on us as practitioners in the industry to go and try to offer our assistance anywhere we can.
So had you people voted me in at OWASP, not bitter at all. Had you people voted me in.
Not bitter at all. No.
Not bitter at all. One of the bases of my program was to actually close into this gap between high school and local industry, right? So the idea comes from my son. He's taking intro to computer science now at high school. And how would it be if, as part of that 4-year computer science elective program, we would have a security even parallel track, right? That in the first year would teach the basics of cybersecurity. On the second year would expose them to open source tools. On the third year, they would have the ability to go to a local company, a local place of work, and actually help that become part of that place, hands-on. On the fourth year, they might have an internship in a bigger place, and that internship would be a ramp up into going straight into the job, jump to college, right?
Yeah.
So for people who already plan to go to college and become computer scientists and not, perhaps it wouldn't make a difference. But I have the feeling that this could change the way that a lot of people consider what they're going to do during and after high school.
Yeah,
and it would solve that gap that we talked about in one of our first episodes.
My local high school here in North Carolina has that program. Now they don't have the security focus. They have it's like an IT academy is what they call it, and the kids enter it as freshmen. They can apply to get into the IT academy as freshmen, and it's part of their curriculum for 4 years. And to Matt's point, I had the opportunity. They invited me to come in and just talk about cybersecurity. I just really told stories. I'm not going with slides to talk to high school kids. Like I just told stories about things I'd seen happen in my career and famous people that I had a chance to chase at a different area of my career, where the more interesting stories come from. But I sat there after. They probably hit me with questions for probably 30 or 45 minutes.
You see?
Good questions too. Like just asking about how, it was probably the best set of questions I've received in the last couple of years from an audience, because they were just pinging me about how this all fits together.
They are an audience that's not yet cynical enough to just look at the job and say, these are the dollars that I can make with this. These are the kids that they listen to your stories, to our war stories, and they still get that romantic war games, hackers, and Matrix vibe of, I'm doing something amazing by tic-tacking on my computer, right? So that's the audience that we have to reach out to. That's why I wanted OWASP to put forward a curriculum that could support teaching this in high schools, and then make the link between industry and those pipelines, and bring those kids in as interns at the end of their high school move.
Yeah.
Right?
We used to have that program when I was in high school. I was a member of Boy Scouts, and we used to do that program. It wasn't part of the Boy Scouts directly. It was something related to it, but where we would go visit companies to learn about what they do, and then eventually, there was intern opportunities perhaps later. So it doesn't have to be necessarily with the high school itself, but I'm sure those programs exist. Other areas like that where we have opportunities to influence. And by the way, I'm not big on kids, but this is where we need to put the effort in order to solve this problem. Right, the university is too late, and people are less inclined to go to university these days with the costs and whatnot. So, and companies are starting to relax those requirements for having a university degree to get at least an entry level position as a developer. So, maybe we need to focus on curriculum. Maybe we need to focus on a set of people. I know here in our area, I think a VocTech school, a vocational school, is probably a better place to get a larger group of people, group of students, as opposed to the local high school. But things like that, we probably have to be innovative about as an industry, not just as teachers.
So let's take a joint resolution and a call for action to the people in Australia that are listening to us right now. Reach out to us if you have ideas, if you feel that you can influence something like this. And let's at least put a plan in place that who are the people that we need, what we need to define, and see if we can spend 2024 making something like this come a reality, because we can change some lives here, people.
Does OWASP have an education or outreach
they have an
track?
educational committee, yeah, and I had a chance to speak with them. Amazingly supportive people, but at the time OWASP wasn't equipped to embark into something like this. So I spoke to some other people who are more on the educational side of the thing, people with ins in high schools and stuff like that, and everybody expressed an interest, right? But first of all, I don't think that it should be just a US thing. It should definitely be a global thing.
Yeah.
So I would welcome more opinions and visions on the subject. And second, at some time I looked around and I said, hey, you know what? I would need some program management skills in here that I definitely don't have. I can barely program manage myself to go from bed to breakfast. So,
well, so the other thing I would just add there is there are other organizations, of course, that maybe there's a concerted effort that can be done here, right?
Yeah.
So OpenSSF, as an example, right? There's a good number of well-funded companies that are helping to support that effort.
Yep.
And education is a recognized challenge, right? Having developers who are aware of secure coding practices or secure design patterns, or the processes, even running SAST or DAST or IAST or whatever, having those skills when they are singular maintainers of open source components that large enterprises around the world rely on.
Yep.
Right. So there's a lot of opportunity, I think, there.
This is one of those things, and Izar, you mentioned this a bit in your explanation. This is about changing the future. This isn't something that has even a 1-year return, 2-year return, maybe not even a 5-year return. This is something that'll take 10 years to watch it blossom and impact the industry. And yeah, it does definitely seem like something OWASP should be behind as far as driving this. So yeah, I mean, I think that's something that we're calling all of our listeners out there, no matter whether you're in Australia, Dublin, or somewhere else around the world, to join us in this. Let's take this on as a security table mission and see what we can do in 2024 because I'd love to do something with this too.
Told you guys should have voted in me.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I would have remembered to vote. I'm so sorry that I didn't.
I wish I had tasked the AI to submit many votes on it.
I can admit I did vote for you. I was behind you.
Oh, so you were the one.
I was the one. I was like, hey, look, my vote is the only one. No, I'm kidding. You did well. You're poised for a 2024 move. That's how I see it right now as your unofficial campaign manager. So
no, I want to go for the committees this year. Yeah.
There you go. So let me read my final resolution here. And I feel like it kind of sums up a lot of the noise that I may have generated in 2023. So here's what it is. Think outside the AppSec box. Stop doing things because it's the way we've always done it. Stop adding tools to your program because these are the tools a serious AppSec program has. That should have been in the air quotes. Think for yourself. Understand the risk and threat a given tool and technology provides. Factor against the ROI versus cost, and then build a program that makes sense for your organization.
Yeah. I mean, I see programs that collect tools the way that we used to collect those small cars when we were kids. You know what I'm talking
Matchbox
about?
cars.
Matchbox cars. Like one more shiny tool after another. And when you ask them what they're getting out of them, they'll go, I have a secure program. So having the tools is not enough. And letting the tool dictate how we're going to work might not be the best solution. Yeah. So perhaps I would extend that resolution with ask of vendors to provide people with tools that enable them to work the way they want, not the way that the vendor wants.
Yeah, and work efficiently. So I don't know if you saw Brooks Schoenfeld's post yesterday on LinkedIn. He said he'd been having a conversation with somebody else in the AppSec industry that was running a program, and this program leader said, I'm no longer allowing tools that generate noise without value.
Noise without value, or was it require care and feeding?
I'm sorry, you're right. You're right. Both. I think it might have been both, but I like it. Yeah, okay. Require care and feeding. Yeah. So I thought that was a very interesting take, though, on the frustration of someone who's running a successful program and dealing with tools and I think his point was that he had to tune. He's not buying anything. He has to tune all the time and tweak.
Yeah.
Like he wants it to just execute and go. So Matt, you got to look on your face like you're.
Yeah, I do.
I have a problem with that.
Okay. Yeah, but I'll go. Izar, go first.
That's asking for the silver bullet. Right. And it just freaking doesn't exist. The question here is not if the care and feeding needs to be done. The question here is the amount of care, and are you feeding the right things, right? Because the smell of what comes out depends on what you put in.
Yeah, having a universal tool that can do everything without you telling it what you need, that sounds wrong. I mean, we, as is our said of the silver bullet, right? We've been chasing that for years, for decades, and you get what you get. I mean, you get everything in the kitchen sink, and you get all the noise that comes with it, or you get results that you don't know what to do with. Yeah. And so, we know this with SAST as an example. If you have custom code constructs, or you're doing things slightly differently, you're going to have to tweak it to get value out of the tool. Otherwise, you're just going to get garbage. And so the care and feeding should have the ability to do the tweaking effectively and efficiently for what you need to contextualize it, but not require care and feeding to make it operate. Right. If you have to continuously supply hardware, resize databases in order to make it function, have a constant, internet connection to some, strange cloud service somewhere to get rule updates on some, 2:00 in the morning every day. I can imagine that's the care and feeding that we want to look to try and minimize or avoid. The tweaking and the contextualization, though, I think we absolutely critically need still.
I think that this also goes towards what we had back in the 60s with if you wanted to talk to the computer, you had to go into the basement and talk to people that wore white smocks and had ties, because they were basically the priesthood of the IBM, right? And they knew how to translate your stuff into cards that went into a machine. Yep. And then people said, okay, we need to popularize this, democratize this, and we ended up with the computers that we have today. But it's not like you don't care and feed for them. You do, but you get directly what you want from them. And I think that tools are the same thing. As Matt said, if you have to keep special people just to feed the tool, the priesthood of that tool, the people who know how to speak the language that tool knows, and that you have to keep worrying about resources and give it 1 more terabyte and 1 more terabyte and put 1 more agent into 1,000 other places, then you are working for the tool and not the tool working for you.
But I mean, a lot of what we suffered with from tools perspective is over the last two decades is tools that require almost constant care and feeding.
So you're working for it.
Yeah. So I mean, so I get where, I don't even remember I don't even know if Brooke ever said who the original person was. I don't think he did. But I get where that person is coming from, though, about historically, I can see where how that conclusion was reached, because we have dealt with a lot of technologies and tools that just generated constant noise, required constant care and feeding to get any amount of value out of them. And that's what this person was concluding is not going to be acceptable.
And SaaS does not automatically solve the problem, by the way.
Mm-hmm. And that's why we need.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, you just have a different set of problems, right? You have a different set of care and feeding that has to occur.
Mm-hmm. And that's why we need quantum LLMs.
I thought you were going to land the plane with reasonable application security, which would have been such a great ending to this episode and the ending of 2023 for our recording process. If you would have just said, and that's why we need reasonable application security.
No, but that's the thing. That's the thing. We still need reasonable application security. But at this time, because of the tools and the care and feeding, and because we haven't yet taken the time to look into that, we still can't quantify and we can't define what's reasonable. And that's what
That is the best prediction. That's the best prediction of 2023. That's the best prediction for 2023. We will still be debating what reasonable application security is.
But I could say that working together by the end of 2024, we could have a very good approach to what that is.
I have a feeling we could continue that prediction every year. At the end of the year, we will probably still be discussing and debating what reasonable application security
No, I don't think so.
is.
I don't think so. And actually, perhaps we should do an episode with more people coming in and asking ourselves what's reasonable.
What is reasonable? Well, gentlemen, this is the end of our wrap-up episode for 2023. So it's been a true joy working with you throughout this year to bring our opinions and discussions, debates, and even a little bit of argument to around the security table. But I know that's we've heard from our audience that's what they enjoy about our perspective.
The joy of security.
The joy of hearing us.
We should thank the various guests we had over the course of the year. We should do that more. We don't bring enough guests on, but
yeah, definitely. Thank you to all those guests that took their time to really educate us. I could say every guest we brought on the security table brought my knowledge of something further or challenged my thinking or did all those good things. So,
which reminds me of the two things that we try to go back to all the time. Nobody knows everything, and we should always be learning more. And don't take yourselves too seriously, people. It's just security.
That's a good way to end the episode right there. Thanks, folks, for listening to Security Table all year. We'll be back in 2024 to provide more witty things and wisdom and whatnot along the way. So thank you.